I'm Harvey Briggs with ridesanddrives.com, and I'm here with Paul Strauss from Awesomer Media.
Hey, Harvey.
Paul, how are you?
Good. Having a blast.
I know. What are we driving today?
We're driving the Infiniti Q60 Red Sport 400.
I was really excited to drive this car because I saw it in concept form in Detroit 2 years ago and was just blown away by the lines of it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful looking car, especially from the side. That's my favorite angle.
I know. I think Infiniti's design language has really started to come into its own. You see this car next to the QX30, next to the Q50, and it really starts to pull a nice family together here. The other thing I'm kind of enjoying about this car is how it drives. There's a lot of good to be said about this engine.
What I noticed was the torque curve is very smooth. Automatic transmission does a really great job in automatic mode. I saw a few sort of funky little things in manual mode.
Yeah, especially on the takeoff. When you put it in manual mode like this and you do some shifting, the downshifts are pretty on the nose, but the upshifts seem to have a little bit of a delay that's just a slight bit disconcerting.
But on the other hand, the turbo lag is really well managed in this car. I feel like it's virtually non-existent.
No, they did some very different work here in this with the turbochargers, and the short manifolds here between the engine and the turbocharger means they spin up more quickly, so you get that horsepower at a lower RPM than typical.
And I understand they're using some sort of water cooling technology as well,
right?
Not just air cooling.
And the RPM monitor that's inside the turbocharger, so they can manage the boost and protect the engine from overboost.
So what do you think about the steering and the handling and cornering?
That's an interesting thing as well. The direct adaptive steering, which we're going to get a good demonstration of here in this series of 45-mile-an-hour corners, is incredibly enough a steer-by-wire system. This steering wheel is actually like a video game controller that electronically sends information to two motors. So when you turn the wheel, it drives those motors, and that's how you're turning. It's a little scary at first.
It is, but you know, and the first time I drove the Q50 with the system a few years back, I thought it was very sort of disconnected. Definitely sort of a 1.0 version of the system.
Right.
This new version feels amazing. Feels very direct, very connected.
Yeah, the on-center feel is terrific. You do get some feedback through the wheel. Not a ton. I mean, it's not the manual steering that's in the Alpha 4C, for example.
I really like the fact that you don't feel every little bump with the steering wheel.
Right. But the nice thing about this is you can set it dead center, and even if you go over bumps and stuff, it holds the center line better than almost any steering system I've ever driven before. The other thing about this car, it has adaptive suspension, and like all cars now, I think GM's MagneRide is probably a little better than this in terms of giving you variability from a comfort to a sport setting. But you know, Infiniti starts with this car even in standard mode in a very sporty suspension setup.
Yeah, that's one of the things I actually really like about the suspension setup on this car is it's not mushy. It doesn't ever. There's no mode in which this car feels soft to the point where you're just sort of like bounding about the road.
Yeah, there's no waftability here, like in the Rolls Royce.
Exactly, and the body roll is really well controlled too. It feels nice going into the corners.
Interior-wise, I think they've done a really nice job.
What I enjoy about the interior of this car is it feels like it's not trying to copy anything else that's out there. It's a unique interior. It's driver-centered, but comfortable for the passenger.
Yeah.
And the finishes are really nice. Never mind the seats. The seats are really, really good.
Yeah, the seats are firm and supportive, so as you're tossing it around through the corners, you've got plenty of bolstering on the sides here.
What do you think about the acceleration off the line?
Acceleration feels good. They haven't given us numbers on this, I don't think. What do you think? It's going to be around a 4-second, 0 to 60?
A little bit higher than 4, maybe 4.2, 4.3.
You know, this isn't Ferrari territory off the line, but again, you're talking about an everyday driver, two-door sports coupe.
It's smooth and quiet as it does that. It's not a big throaty exhaust note.
Right.
But you know, it feels good. And
and one thing I'm really glad about is that they don't pipe the exhaust note into the interior through the speakers. But what I am disappointed in is that there's not a dual exhaust mode in this. like to be able in a sports car, when you get into that sports mode, like with the Corvette or the Camaro or any number of cars now, where you can hit the button and go from a quiet exhaust to a little bit louder and give you a little more of that visceral feeling.
But what I do like about this is it's sort of uniquely positioned as a luxury sports car. You know, I put the luxury just above the sport in this car, and it makes it feel much more comfortable than some of the cars that might be more, you know, I can actually see myself taking this to the track.
Right.
Whereas this is a car that you're just going to really enjoy on the open road.
Yeah, this is not a track car. You know, BMW M4 will eat this thing's lunch around the track. The brakes here are great over-the-road brakes, but they're not carbon ceramic track brakes that are going to haul you down from 140 to 40 miles an hour as you come into turn 5 at Road America.
Right.
You know, if you do that in this car, you're going to probably have some issues. You know, if you're looking at an Infiniti Q60 Red Sport 400, that's a mouthful. What else are you looking at? You're looking at the Lexus RCF,
ATS-V from Cadillac,
probably a BMW 440,
and then maybe Audi RS5 or S5.
S5, RS5, right?
But frankly, in its competitive sector, this is the most gorgeous car.
Oh yeah,
it just looks fantastic.
I think design-wise, you know, this is number one.